We'd like to welcome you to the Midvale Planning Commission meeting on October the 8th. We begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand and repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Could I get a roll call, please?
Chair Anderson?
Here.
Vice Chair Erickson?
Here.
Commissioner Tippett is excused. Commissioner Snow?
Here.
Commissioner Lidke?
Here.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
And Commissioner Kasparian is also excused.
Thank you very much. Did we review the minutes? Did you get to take a look?
Yes.
Any issues?
Nope. Minutes look good.
Minutes are
Could I
good.
get a motion for them?
I make a motion we approve the minutes from September 24th, 2025.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Tonight we're opening our public hearing, and first item is Hamad. Oh, I'm going to murder this name, aren't I?
You're going to do fine.
Okay.
Hamid Hazandad.
Hamid
Zadeh.
Zadeh. Oh, I liked it.
Yeah.
Request preliminary subdivision approval for a 4-lot subdivision located at 7230 through 7240 South, 525 East in the single-family residential 1 with duplex overlay. Jonathan?
Thanks, Chair Anderson. So you might recognize this project. This was before you, it's about a year and a half, 2 years ago or so. I think it was about a year ago. It was the cottages at 7240 that they subdivided to do a flag lot. As part of that, they had to construct the duplexes before they could subdivide for individual ownership of each side of the duplex, essentially making 4 twin home units. So that's what this is coming back for, is just a subdivision to subdivide those on the party wall for the duplexes. We've reviewed everything. It meets all of our new subdivision ordinance and everything. All the staff has reviewed it. Yeah, here's the plat that was in your the packet. I've not received any comments on this. They are basically complete, which is, again, why this is coming before you, because they had to build them before subdividing them. So, any questions for me?
No?
I don't have any.
Okay, I've got a motion for you after the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since this is the public portion, do we have any comments from the public?
Seeing there's no public comment, I move that we close the public hearing portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
This seems in standing with what we have asked of a lot of developers, so I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision located at 7230 to 7240 South, 525 East, with the findings included in the staff report.
Second.
Can I get a roll call on that?
Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Snow?
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, we have the transportation connectivity element of the general plan.
I'll give a quick introduction. This plan is a legislative mandate that came from the Utah legislature during this legislative session. And we decided to try to get ahead of this as quickly as we can, because it can potentially give the city a leg up in applications for funding. And Tyler will explain this a little more later. The plan basically highlights some projects that are already part of our transportation master plan, and the state law has a provision in it that if projects are in this connectivity addendum to the transportation master plan, that they will get priority in funding decisions that come from the state. So, and now I'll have Tyler talk with you. He's the lead consultant. He works for Parametrics, and he has worked really hard to make this come together.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. My name is Tyler Smithson. I'm a consultant at Parametrics. I'm a transportation planner and landscape architect. I had a pretty heavy role in the transportation master plan that was released earlier this year, so it was quite nice timing to lead right into this because it was so fresh and all of the files were in the right place on our server, so it was quite nice to lead into this. So you may consider this as kind of an amendment to that transportation master plan and to the general plan. So generally this document's about 35 pages long as it sits now. It's mostly baked, but there could be some things changed throughout, but essentially it's organized into 4 major components, which there's an executive summary chapter, steering committee summary, and on the steering committee we had Gwendolyn, Jonathan Anderson, Nate Rockwood, Adam Olson, Brandon Anderson, and from the WFRC we had Byron Head and Matt Ryan. So it was a pretty well-rounded group that were familiar with the transportation, all things transportation in Midvale. So in this executive summary kind of recaps the process and the projects. And then the chapter 3 goes into impediment analysis, which looks at completing the requirements set forth in the Senate Bill 195. And they mention a couple types of impediments, mainly physical, like waterways and canals. We took what they recommended and expanded upon it to include a couple other categories that I thought would be more of a holistic analysis to try to be more comprehensive of the full community and the needs that the citizens here face. And then chapter 4 is the priority projects as determined by looking at what these impediments are and a couple other factors which I'll get into later on how we selected them. And then the last 2 chapters would be like just the funding sources, where the money might come from. Some of these projects are partially or fully funded, and others don't have any funding at all. And then just a references page at the end. So this just is kind of a recap of what Gwendolyn just said on regarding the Senate Bill 185. There was a lot of things packaged in these bills. There's many parts that I was adamantly against, but there's other parts that I'm quite positive and happy that they passed, which is why I'm here today. So yeah, these are just big UDOT bills that wrap in just like comprehensive funding for all sorts of things. So if you want to read into it, it's probably 1,000,000 pages long and would be quite hard to follow what everything is talking about. But in this specific scope, we were looking at the impediments and the municipal submittal requirements that each city has to submit. And we're about 2 years early in this process, so we do have a leg up and potentially have a benefit of being an early submitter for this. So I think it's always good to be ahead of the curve on asking for money. So just the main thing to take away from this slide is that the project timeline was quite expedited. So we started in August 4th on this effort. So a lot's happened in a short amount of time. And our first steering committee meeting was in late August, followed by meeting 2, which was mid-September. And just yesterday was our final steering committee meeting. So it was quite expedited, and we were doing that so that we could hit the November 1st reporting window. I think this first reporting window might be flexible, whereas the one in 27 might be more of a mandated deadline. Things could happen between now and then regarding this portion of the bill and the reporting, but those things are uncertain at this point. So going into the impediment analysis, We had 6 categories, and for each category, a mapping analysis was conducted by using a map overlay technique that looks at simple parts of the transportation network and then overlaying them into a theme. And so those themes would be natural and physical constraints, which kind of go right into what the bill mandated regarding looking at canals and waterways like rivers. And then we had infrastructure types of impediments, which are just your major roads, and other things like railroads. They're notoriously challenging to deal with. And then things like safety performance, and that goes into the Wasatch Front Regional Council's high-risk network, which was a mapping exercise that identified priority areas for safety improvements based on past crash information. And then that safety and performance also looked at things like active transportation crashes and congestion. And so then the next category would be active transportation gaps. Where are your existing trails? Where are they not? Where's the demand? Where's the trail not meeting that demand? And so we use various sources of information like Strava bicycle maps and walk scores, and just looking at your existing networks, and just general unsafe crossings. Land use analysis and ownership conflicts. This one was kind of challenging to blend in because oftentimes transportation is separate from land use, but we were looking at just like complexity of zoning and the various the overlays or the WFRC vision networks development centers. So in general, if it was going from like a single family to single family, it was not a complex land use difference. So there was not much of an impediment. But if you're like going across a city through all this stuff, that would be more of a challenge. So then our last category was equity and access barriers, and I thought this was important, but we looked at it in a scope which is more based on health, and so there's a map that is called the Healthy Places Index, and it breaks down into census block group level data, and so it categorizes based on healthiness of the population in that area. So if it was a less healthy based on the data, then it would receive like a higher prioritization in a way. And then so in that, there's also things like transportation noise. Like if you look at aviation noise, it's almost the entire city except for some eastern parts. Whereas if you look at roadway transportation noise, it's pretty pervasive, it's everywhere, but more along the major thoroughfares and interstates. So I'll just go through a couple of these maps. I just kind of pulled 3 of them. So the physical and natural constraints going right into the waterways. I think these waterways, I don't see them as impediments. I see them as opportunities because they're preserved right of way. They do have a designated use, but that use may change to be able to adapt and allow additional uses like active transportation. You have flood zones, which didn't seem to be much of a factor in really any project that we identified, and then steep slopes, which are around the slag from the old mine and just the interstates. So there wasn't really that much to take away from the other layers in this map, but the real takeaway is the waterways, and having these run through your community is a huge asset as I see it. Infrastructure barriers, look at major roads, railroads, neighborhood connectivity, where like the traffic signals are found. So between those neighborhoods, it's hard to navigate because there's a lot of major infrastructure. But where you see all those blue dots are points of transportation funneling and people moving. So this is kind of a really interesting analysis that had a lot of impact in our later results. And then this is safety performance issues. So we're looking at things like overall crash density. That map is just everything since 2020. So it's not that long ago. It's kind of eye-opening. And then AT crashes is 2020 through 2024. So there's quite a lot going on here, and it's concerning. And then the high-risk network is from the WFRC. That was just a data layer, we could pull it in. So this composite map kind of shows a lot of information all in one. So when we were assessing these projects, this was a really important map to look at. Would like to just, so the selected projects reflect a combination of factors, including results from the impediment analysis, the steering committee recommendations, findings from previous city-led feasibility studies. A lot of them are found on your website. Available funding opportunities, and each project's potential to improve the health, safety, and welfare of Midvale residents and visitors. So here's kind of an overview map. We have 10 linear projects, which are like trails, sidewalks from point A to point B, and then one spot improvement project, and that's at Ramini and 7200 South. So just kind of going down the list, we have Tuscany View Road Extension, which is just right here. There's quite an impediment there with the railroad tracks. However, it's not like a major thoroughfare for Union Pacific or the tenants that rely on the train cars moving down the line. So I think that's going to be a big impediment of time just to deal with the headache of moving the road through that. Anytime you're dealing with railroad companies, they're monopolistic, quasi-governmental, with not much care. But this is one. I have a colleague that deals all the time with railroads, and this is one that he said that this is an overcomable obstacle and can be done. And so you can see for each one of these, there's kind of a quick reference on cost, complexity, and duration. And this is just kind of in the middle of the road. It's not going to be very expensive. It could take some time, and then its complexity is relatively straightforward. The next one would be Bingham Junction Park Bridge to Jordan River Parkway. I worked on that master plan for the park back in the day, so it's great to see things move along with this park. And the next one would be Union Park Trail Connection. There's a lot of future plans for rec center, county rec center there, so making that connection to the neighborhood would be awesome, especially for kids and people trying to make it there without the car. Fort Union Boulevard, this is a big project with lots going on. So it's a high cost, high complexity, long duration vision that you could kind of lay the bricks for the future planning commission, council leaders of the city to realize. But it has a huge impact on the health, safety, and welfare. This is the Fort Union part west of Romney to the city limits. And then the next project would be east. And the reason why that spot project is right there is because there's a transition from mixed-use side path in the concept to separated bike lanes. And so that intersection will help facilitate bicyclists going eastbound to come down onto the south side of the road to keep on going east to 900 East and to the canyons beyond. And that's similar in its cost and complexity and duration. And the next 6 projects are Porter Rockwell Trail. That's I added an extra dollar symbol onto that. It's supposed to be only out of 3. I don't totally know. There's a lot going on that project, and there's potential reroutes. So I think you could realize portions of it in a medium-term fashion, but a long-term realization of that alignment may be quite challenging without acquisition of right-of-way. Allen Street, this is a easy win if you ever want to take a road network improvement project on. It's right there for the taking. It looks like the other side of the property south of here is already built, so it's just kind of tying in. You just have one property, I believe, to buy right away from. Fort Union crossing improvement at Romney, talked about it a little bit. There's a couple options on how that might be done. There could be a toucan crossing, which would restrict left-hand turns out of the neighborhood, or you could have a hawk intersection, which is the one where you press the button and it flashes. I think both would work quite well. I have a toucan right next to my house that I use all the time on my bike, and I love it. So it works really good. And it even senses bikers as they come, so it's like, it kind of helps them get a green light, per se. And then we have 900 East. There's a lot going on. There's partial funding for this. We've submitted a proposal to the city to have an amendment to this project, actually, to further study this. This is really great project for safe routes to school, as the high school is right there, and connecting further up 900 East, which is a really great street, especially as you get closer to Salt Lake City for AT, active transportation type movements through the community. And then we have Maple Street tracks connection. I know there's probably a lot of resistance to this in that immediate community because they perceive people coming from the tracks as maybe not desirable. But I think for the broader community, that project, the circle of the benefit of the population is quite large for people being able to get to that from adjacent communities. And then finally, we have one that I really love, is the Jordan Salt Lake Canal Trail. Similar to the Port of Rockwell, kind of goes in the other north-south direction, but seems like it has a little bit less impediments to realize, and has a lot of good regional connectivity. Here's an example of kind of the detail that we get into with this. It's kind of high-level planning level estimates, and so this project is the Jordan Salt Lake Canal Trail, and just kind of show an image with a couple sections. These sections were pulled from Consort Engineering study from a couple of years ago on the two canals, and then there's a project description, and we kind of list the impediments. So for this one of the impediments is the canal itself. So there's a couple types of alignments that could happen. There's private property, and the impediment is active transportation gaps that this project could solve those issues. And then this estimate was also derived from the Consort Engineering study feasibility analysis, but we just added an inflation factor of 16%, just so you could see an updated number of what that might be. And then kind of get into the last chapter of funding sources. You have various state, local, and federal sources that you have option to pull from. So are there any questions? I know it wasn't a long time that you had to review this, so I'm happy to help answer anything you might have.
I don't really have any questions. I think it's great that we did our transportation plan so closely to this.
Yeah, that kind of worked good, didn't it?
Yeah, it worked out well.
Way to keep it organized on your servers.
Yeah.
So you can make this easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm impressed with the timing that,
Yeah.
that
The turnaround.
part of that is probably because you worked on the master. So
It would have been harder to do this in 27 because I would have had like 40 projects between my head of the last time I worked on the TMP. So, whereas we kind of led right into this with only a few projects in the middle there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. I think
I
it's
like
great
it.
for the amount of time. You may want to revisit the font. It's
okay,
pretty
so
difficult to read, I'm just saying.
that is the PDF document is
Yeah.
good to go.
Okay,
There was an export
that happens.
thing with
Yeah.
PDF to PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So sorry,
Okay.
that was kind of wonky.
No worries.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the information. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. No?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we have to do public hearing.
Let's open this to the public hearing.
Seeing there's no one here to make a public comment, I make a motion we close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Tyler, very much. Okay, let's get a motion.
Yeah.
I move that we recommend approval of the transportation connectivity element of the general plan.
I second.
Can I get a roll call vote?
Chair Anderson,
Yes?
Vice Chair Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludke,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Next.
Good luck at city council.
Yeah. Now that'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll go great.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
We have a staff update. Somebody, anybody?
Yes, it's going to be me.
Okay.
I have some good news to report from City Council. We had 4 items on the agenda, and well, technically speaking, 3 of them got approved, 1 got tabled, but the table was more on a technicality that's going to be on the consent agenda next week. So, and these are, the items that you had recommended approval for. One of them was the changes around vehicle-related uses that the City Council approved. Then the other one was the changes around master plan developments. And then we had the water use and preservation plan that got approved. The form-based code, there was only one concern that they had, and the City Council deliberated a little bit about the time when music in outdoor dining should end, and it seemed you had discussed that a little bit too. And so there were different approaches, and in the end, the City Council settled on just syncing it up with the noise ordinance.
Okay.
And so that's going to be with that little change on the next agenda. And next time we'll most likely have the parks plan on your agenda. And I guess there's still a lot of things going on. We've actually had quite a few inquiries for development.
That's good.
Yeah, which not quite sure if that's because of interest rates, but it seems there's some new life. So that's all I have for you today.
Cool.
Anything else? When's the next meeting?
Next meeting is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. And then we have the APA conference for those going tomorrow. And then we were also informed the Midvale Midvale trick or treat is October 25th, starting at noon. It's only 2 hours this year, so the little kiddos don't have to walk for 4 hours. But yeah, all are welcome downtown Main Street, October 25th.
And are there still volunteering opportunities?
If you guys are interested in volunteering, there are still volunteer opportunities for you guys. If you guys just want to come and no pressure to volunteer.
Yeah. There will be candy regardless.
There will be candy regardless at food trucks, so.
Nice.
There we go. Okay. I move that we adjourn at 6:29.
All in favor? Oh, no.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.